The Toronto Maple Leafs are battling for first place in the Atlantic Division, and they're getting hot at the right time. David Morassutti of Locked On Leafs is here to talk about that and what it'll take for the Leafs to go on a long playoff run. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the co-host of Locked On Leafs, David Morassutti. And David, the Leafs, 4 wins in a row. They're getting hot at the right time. What's been the reason for this recent run?
I just think right now this team is forging their identity. I know it's a cliche that gets thrown out quite a bit, but I think this team is totally locked in on their team goal right now. And they realize that it's going to be kind of everything coming together at the right time. Now, there's been a bit of bumps along the way, but yeah, the last 4 games, this team has really shown its form, especially the last 2 games. A big one against the Florida Panthers where they win that one, kind of showing everybody that, yes, they can beat the Panthers. They can beat one of the heavyweights in that division. And then you got a desperate Columbus Blue Jackets team that's had the Leafs number in the other 2 games they played this season. Like, when you play a team like that that's got to throw the kitchen sink at you, the Leafs did not faze them one bit. They took care of that pretty handily. So I think right now they're realizing this is the time of year where you got to start, building your form heading into the playoffs.
You mentioned they're finding their identity. What is their identity?
Well, I think part of it has to be playing sound defense, right? Not allowing they got a little carried away, on the California road trip against San Jose. They were playing very lazy defense, trying to score and not think about the details and helping the goaltender out. Against the Kings, it's sort of reawoken that identity of, if you're going to go out in the playoffs, you got to play tight checking hockey. You got to find a way to beat a team that's going to play that style. So, shot blocking, reduce the number of shots that are coming in on your net, and get those timely goals, power play, special teams. So there's been a kind of a mix of things. I wouldn't point to one thing. Goaltending's been good. Yes, it's been good for the majority of the season. Special teams has really picked up. Like, the Leafs power play has been a real big positive for them after it was looking absolutely dreadful to start the year. And, depth is starting to kick in with the scoring, which we were wondering if that was going to be something they could rely on. It looks like potentially like this is a year where your depth guys can step up for you.
You got a 3-team race right now for first place in the Atlantic. How important is it for the Leafs to finish in first place?
You know what? The last time they finished first place in a division, it was 2020, 2021. But that was also a year where it was the All-Canadian division, a bit of an asterisk on that season. In the last 87 years, they had only won the division twice. That year, in the COVID year, and then 1999-2000. And it wasn't even called the Atlantic Division at that point. It was the Northeast Division. So in this new format, the Leafs have never won a division. So it would be significant for them to do it. It brings 2 thoughts in my mind to this. One, the last God knows how many years that they have been in this dreaded playoff format, which I have never liked, contrary to what Gary Bettman has to say about it. No, this is the time of year where the Leafs matchup in the first round was already locked in. They had already known it was either going to be the Bruins or the Lightning in the first round. That, to me, the team kind of went in a bit of a lull where it's like, yeah, we know what we're going to do. We're just going to make sure we get in the playoffs healthy. And there was little things that were kind of creeping in, and the team wasn't playing like a team ready for the playoffs. Now it's like, well, we can win the division. Let's dictate our playoff fate a little bit more. Let's give ourselves home ice in the first 2 rounds, which they, again, have not done. Well, first off, getting past round 1 is the first. I just think this is giving them that focus to say, job's not done. Let's go win the division. Let's make life easy on ourselves and give ourselves every advantage possible that this team has not had in such a long time. I think that's why the division title means so much, because it's one of those things that's been missing through this whole Matthews-Marner era. They have not done it. So see if they can do it.
How much pressure is there on this team based on the contract situation and what the future may hold for this roster to get it done this year?
Well, I think when you got Matthews and Nylander locked in, the Tavares-Marner situation, that's been talked about in full length, especially the Marner one. You do want to give yourself the best chance. I feel like out of all the years, this team really has that potential. And yeah, there's no guarantees that you're going to be able to have this identical roster coming back. Now, yes, the cap is going up, so you could potentially try to bring as much of it back. But again, there is no guarantees. There's a lot of questions about Marner's future and what he's going to do. John Tavares is having a season to remember, and that dollar figure could be getting expensive for this team. But it seems like he's one of the ones that's consistently said he wants to be back. So I just think with the opportunity right now, this is like, if the Leafs don't take advantage of this year, it is going to be a massive disappointment. And I think less so about the future of the players on the team and the future of things within the organization, because, the Leafs have a new CEO of the ownership group that owns the team. He wants to see results. He's not going to want to see another first round exit. And there's a president that's been here that he didn't hire. So Brendan Shanahan right now, he could be the one that has a lot of attention paid to him and a lot of the, I wouldn't say blame, but the crosshair, he'd be in the crosshairs for a lot of people who are looking for someone to point to and to say, why hasn't this worked? And, he's been the consistent, right? Kyle Dubas is gone. You bring in Craig Berube, you bring in Brad Treliving, you do something different. One thing hasn't changed, obviously the core, but who assembled the core? Who's the one that ensured that core stayed together? I think Brendan Shanahan has pulled a lot of the strings on that. So I think that's where a lot of the pressure goes to.
Give me an unsung player who's not making a lot of headlines nationwide, but who has really helped the Leafs this year get to where they are right now.
Ooh. I would probably put it to a guy like Anthony Stolarz. You hear a lot about William Nylander. You hear a lot about Tavares, Marner, Matthews. You don't hear a lot about the goaltenders. I do think when you look at how much this Leafs team is paying their goaltenders this year, it is criminal what a team like the Leafs, who have, money out the yank, they are paying their goaltenders this year $3.26 million. Think about that. 3.26 for both their goaltenders combined.
Yeah.
Combined. And I didn't expect this level of play from Anthony Stolarz. And even Joseph Woll, there was the potential for him to do it. We weren't sure if he was going to be able to handle the uptick in minutes and all that stuff. But that goaltending tandem has been, I think, an unsung hero, because, it's a decent blue line for this team, but it doesn't have a number one defenseman, right? There isn't that, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes type of defenseman. So the goaltending has really shouldered a lot of it. And I'll throw one other name out there, Bobby McMahon. He's making $1.35 million, and he's hit the 20-goal mark this year.
Who do you think gets the start in game 1 of the playoffs?
If you ask me today, it's Anthony Stolarz. He got back-to-back starts. When you look at the tandem, you see, who does the coaching staff lean to and that chance to get that one extra, that second start to see if he can handle it. And that was Anthony Stolarz, and he had a really good game. He's a veteran. He doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. He doesn't have a lot of experience in total, but I think they really like what he brings to his game. I think the last bit here, he's won his last 4 starts pretty handedly. I think it's last 5 actually pretty handedly. So, I think he's got a good grasp on the job right now. Now, at the same time, I don't think the door is fully closed on Joseph Woll. Again, his playoff experience, while limited, has been spectacular. But I think right now, Anthony Stolarz, his play this year has really shown that he is ready to handle that come game 1.
David, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, you can follow me on X at @D_Morassutti, and you can go follow the Locked On Leafs podcast wherever you get your podcast from. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube and on X at Locked On Leafs, as well as on Instagram at Locked On Leafs.
David, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You could track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much money I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you could use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You could track your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.